Bear witness that what is believed can be achieved. Hold your dreams deep in your heart. Have faith. Believe in yourself. And most of all, don't ever, ever give up. Visions that can change the world. Trapped inside an ordinary guy. He looks just like me, too afraid to dream out loud. Though it's simple, your idea, it won't make sense to everybody. And you need courage now if you're gonna persevere to fulfill divine purpose. You gotta answer when you're called. So don't be afraid to face the world against all odds. Keep the dream alive, don't let it die. It's something deep inside, keeps inspiring you to try. Don't stop and never give up. Don't ever give up on you. Don't give up. Every victory comes in time. Work today to change tomorrow. It gets easier. Who's to say that you can't fly? And every step you take, you get closer to your destination. You can feel it now. Don't you know you're almost there? To fulfill divine purpose, you gotta answer when you're called. So don't be afraid to face the world against all odds. Who holds the pieces to complete the puzzle? The answer that can solve a mystery. The key that can unlock your understanding. It's all inside of you. You have everything you need. So keep the dream alive. Don't let it die. It's something deep inside, keeps inspiring you to try. Don't stop and never give up. Don't ever give up on you. Sometimes it's a stumbling block in your way, but you gotta keep the faith. Bring what's deep inside of your heart to the light and never give up. Don't ever give up on you. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
That is so true. Cuba Gooding with Don't Give Up. Tonight is a really, really special night for Remember Then Radio because we are interviewing a dear friend of ours. He could have had 1 million people do this interview, and they would have been so honored, and yet he chose Remember Then Radio. Charles, we owe you a huge debt of gratitude, and we have such deep respect for you.
Well, let me tell you something. What I tell everyone who wants to be involved in this, it starts with the music. It's nice to get your accolades, to do well financially, socially, but it's all about the music. And I salute you, Barb and Steve, for Remember Then Radio, because I've watched you grow, and you're still growing, and you're going to grow beyond anything you can imagine, because that's what it's about with you. It's the music, and your fans know that. You have a wide variety of music, but you do have something in common. Of all the genres that you cater to and play, it's all quality, and it's all good songs, and it's all good music.
Oh,
so I thank you for that. And actually, this is my first interview worldwide announcing what we're going to talk about today and what's coming up for Charles Wallert and the people that work with him and the new company Money, Scheherazade Recordings, etc., etc.
Oh, you don't know how honored we are. I mean, we are so blessed to have met you and to become friends, and your friends list. I mean, we feel so honored to be on it. It's a proverbial who's who. I mean, you know everybody.
Well, like attracts like, and fortunately we've had a lot of long-term relationships, and I think the basis of music, good family, good background, brought us all together. And I'm blessed for what I've been through, but I must tell you with all humility, and I'll give gratitude up front, what I'm about to accomplish with the help of my greater power is going to dwarf anything I've ever done.
Wow, that's wonderful. And that, you know, it gives us all such a good feeling to know that we're just in the beginning. We're not at the end. We're just getting started, right?
Absolutely. And that's what you have to know, always. And that's got to come from within, and it won't be a steady stream, but, you know, you got to find that enthusiasm.
And you've got it.
To keep that, sometimes you take a break, then sometimes you run into obstacles. But when you get that enthusiasm, everything dwells. It's all in the inside and your focus.
Well, you are such a class act, and you have such impeccable taste. And I'll tell you, about 2.5-3 years ago, Charles called us and sang a song, and I just couldn't get over. I mean, we're not going to discuss the song because it's not released, but he's a genius. I mean, he doesn't only do music. He's a producer. He is a writer. He's an actor. He's a singer. He writes books. There isn't anything this man can't do. He's lived 1 million lifetimes already.
Well, let me clarify the actor. I was pressed into service to do that. I like to stay behind the scenes, but yes, I was credited as that. And everything I do in those fields, it comes from an inspiration and a motivation and a reason to do it. I don't write 1,000 songs. I feel what I feel, and it comes out in a song.
And for those of you who don't know, although everyone knows, Charles wrote Brenda, and what a song that is. Just fantastic. You want to tell us a little story about what motivated you to write Brenda?
Well, it came from a true experience. I had been seeing someone for a while, and we kind of lost touch for about, maybe a year and a half or something like that. And I was in a terrible accident and was healing and going through some things, and I knew I had to get back into the studio. So O.C. Smith came into New York, and we started the What You're Gonna Do album, recorded the first 2 songs. And while I was healing, this lady got back in touch with me, and O.C. was going to Houston. It was my birthday. I went with him. We reunited. It was on a Friday. I'll never forget. If you look it up, watch this. Let's see how accurate I am. Mm-hmm. Friday, June 14th, 1985 was a Friday. And then I flew back to New York, and Monday in my office, still on crutches, I wrote the song because I was inspired about the good feeling.
Wow.
And it was on the national charts. It was the 3rd single on the Billboard charts from the What You're Gonna Do album. And then the album, we were going to get ready to do something else, and it exploded in a thing called beach music, which I've never heard of. Uh-huh. Was #1 for 2 years, and worldwide is still one of my biggest hits. And again, I attribute that to the emotion, the feeling, the power that went into that.
Well, let me tell you, they are still playing Brenda on the radio, and I absolutely love it. How about if we listen to it, and afterwards you can tell us a little bit about O.C., because I think he was the sweetest, most gentle man.
There was nobody like him. He was the best, and yes, absolutely, I have a lot to say about him.
Okay, let's hear Brenda.
It seemed life was losing all its fun, always loving on the run. There was nothing to be done. With you, I turned my whole thing around, picked myself up off the ground. Come to these arms, I want to embrace you. You are my lady, I'll never replace you, oh Brenda, my Brenda. I'm thinking about your love, and you're all that I'm dreaming of. Oh Brenda, my Brenda, you're the only girl for me, and I'm yours exclusively. Oh Brenda, my Brenda, the clouds, they seem to somehow disappear. The sun was shining very clear, and love has now replaced the fear. And you had a lot of faith in me. You changed the course of history. Living with you, I'm having a ball. It must be true that love conquers all. Oh Brenda, oh Brenda, I'm thinking about your love, and you're all that I'm dreaming of. Oh Brenda, my Brenda, you're the only girl for me, and I'm yours exclusively. Oh Brenda, my Brenda. In time, I guess they learn to understand what you meant to this man. Come to these arms, I want to embrace you. You are my lady, I'll never replace you. Oh Brenda, my Brenda, I'm thinking about your love, and you're all that I'm dreaming of. Oh Brenda, my Brenda, you're the only girl for me, and I'm yours exclusively. Oh Brenda, my Brenda, I'm thinking about your love, and you're all that I'm dreaming of. Oh Brenda, my Brenda, you're the only girl for me.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just like always, this is live radio, and that was not O.C. Smith. That was Jackie Gore and the Embers. They did a tribute to O.C. Smith doing Brenda. And so, you know, Charles, here we're starting off this way, and that makes it good because we got our mistakes taken care of.
There was a connection there. I did 2 albums with the Embers, and I'm very proud of the work I've done. Jackie wasn't with the group then, but we did the Beach Music collaboration album, of which O.C. Smith's Brenda was on, Cuba was on, George Benson was on, Daryl Tukes. And then we did The Show Must Go On, which to me was one of my better albums that I felt. I felt it was a really, really good album.
That's one of the questions I always ask everyone that I interview. Did you ever do a song, write a song, play a song, produce a song, and when it was over, you said to yourself, man, I really nailed that. It's perfect?
I don't do it like that. I just feel it and know that everything, the way I wanted it to come out was the way it is. And if it's not, I'll have to figure out why it's not, because you do it in stages. So I'm not going to leave it that way, and that's where experience comes in. And a lot of times where there's a vocalist, you know, he could be a great vocalist, but or he or she, but it's got to be that day that they get the right mood and the right feeling.
Yeah.
So I don't put anything out there unless I feel that it does what I set out to do.
Yeah, and the person has to be in the groove at the time, right?
Well, they sometimes they were even physically ill, but they captured the feeling. Sometimes a mistake, and then you fix it. They got to be in tune, that's sure. And I'm not one to use auto tune and things like that. I deal with real singers. Mm-hmm. There's no problem if you have to do that once in a while. But when it's finished, it's got to be a believable story, musically, lyrically, performance-wise.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning of Charles Wallert. You're a New York City boy, is that correct?
Yes, I am, born and raised.
That's correct. And you started singing very early. You knew what you wanted.
Well, I didn't sing. I played guitar very early. Of course, I sang, not very well.
Right.
But I was a kid, and music was very eclectic then. And I liked it. I became a big Elvis Presley fan very young. Mm-hmm. Who didn't? He was a real innovator.
What's your favorite Elvis song?
Oh, there's a few. I like Loving You. There's a lot of them. I like his ballads a whole lot.
I love Don't. That's my favorite.
Yeah, Don't is good. And there was one from King Creole, As Long As I Have You.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful song. Uh-huh. And King Creole was, I think, his best soundtrack. The up-tempo ones, I kind of like Treat Me Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. So now we have to get back to OC. I don't even know where to start. There is so many questions I have for you. I mean, we need 10 hours instead of... Okay,
well, we'll come back and do part 2, so that's not a problem.
That would be great.
Let's see how your fans think about that.
Well, they'll love it. They'll love it. Tell us a little bit about how you met OC and how you knew that it was a perfect fit for the two of you.
Well, when I was working with Ronnie Lamar, this is after I was managing him, and then I learned the craft about studio producing. He needed a record deal. And I said, I can do this after being around the studio, and I wrote Love Came, which you can still see on YouTube. Love Came, Ronnie Lamar, Limar, and we signed with Brunswick Records, which was a big soul label, the Shy Lights, Tyrone Davis, Jackie Wilson. Mm-hmm. And it became a pretty good hit for us. And I wanted to, during that era, we were discussing the great singers that came out, and it wasn't so much Little Green Apples, although Daddy's Little Man was a great performance.
Oh, that's precious.
He was a storyteller, La La Peace song, which I recut. And I had found out later that he was going to do a lot of that Lou Rawls stuff, that was originally slated for him, and then Clive Davis had exited from Columbia. So anyway, I decided now I got a hit with East Coast Rock, and I was getting some notoriety as a producer. I could, not just say, "Hey, I'm a producer. Can I produce you?" I had somewhat of a track record going. Mm-hmm. And he was at the Playboy Club, and a disc jockey took me in to meet him backstage, and it was instant right from there, right from the New York City Playboy Club. That was it.
Wow.
He and I.
But anyway, so you and OC stayed together up until his death.
Correct, 22 years.
Wow, that's a long career. And
yes.
Some beautiful, beautiful songs.
Oh, yes, definitely. We did equivalent of about 5 albums together.
That many, wow.
Yeah, yes, we did. And some of my all-time favorite songs.
Can you name a few?
What You're Gonna Do, After All Is Said and Done, Yes, I Will.
Wow.
Stan, almost, all of them, really.
Well, I know from doing the research before I did this interview that you've been involved in so many philanthropic and educational activities. I just can't get over how many things you've done and what you've been involved with. I don't know where you find the time. What are you up to right now?
Well, to go back to that, my family was always involved with that, so I grew up with that. And as you know, I moderated some of the things I could recall, moderating the producers panel for Grammys in School. Wow. I was president of the Chapter East of Society of Singers for a few years, where we would give help to singers. But now there's an issue that we're all concerned about. It's in the newspapers every day about traumatic brain injuries, especially to the NFL players.
Right.
The deceased players that were diagnosed, 99%. And it concerns concerns me on several reasons. I saw the movie Concussions and was really concerned. I have a 4.5-year-old grandson, Dylan, who's shown quite a promise as an athlete in his other sports. And talking to his parents about playing football, it's questionable. There needs to be a twofold purpose, I believe, in the treatment of the injuries that now exist and the cooperation with the organizations, the NFL, the NCAA, and, to prevent the injuries. But so many of the players, I was around the game for a long time with the Giants and, of course, my years with Joe, and that I knew as players, knew as great players, I knew personally as well, are suffering with this. So Joe Namath had some issues, and he tried this treatment with the hyperbaric chamber, and it reversed what was there. He caught it in time, but it reversed that and prevented it. So he went ahead and founded the Joe Namath Neurological Research Center.
Wow.
And I am assisting them in raising funds and raising awareness. There's going to be a gala October 10th at Cipriani's in New York City on 42nd Street. And there's going to be a celebrity auction. George Benson is going to donate a guitar and an amp, and there's a lot of things going on. So I feel very strongly about this, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help. And the website, if you want to donate or find more about it, is the NamathNeurocenter.org. That's Namath, NAMATH, NEUROCENTER.org, NamathNeurocenter.org. And I know we all love athletes in football, but to quote this, there's a video link in there about a person who was in a car accident. Joe Namath said, "This is bigger than sports. This is for everyone." And it's true. So I'm going to be very committed to this cause, and I've started contacting my friends and associates that I know in all fields to support this organization.
We'll put that website up on our station so that if anybody wants to donate, because I know everybody loves football, and it's a true cause that so many people, as he said, it's a lot more than just football, because brain injuries, they're problems in a lot of children, and it's amazing what they can do. I know, I read how he is doing so much better.
Gail Sayers is suffering now, and a lot of the people we knew, but also for brain injury, period. So this is so big, and I think now we pool together and get some treatment, but also another very important part is for the NFL and other organizations to recognize that this is occurring, and how do we stop it from occurring? So I think everybody's got to work hand in hand. I don't think we're there yet, but I think bringing awareness to this with the center and what Joe has set out to accomplish, we'll do this eventually.
Exactly, and it's wonderful that he's bringing this to the forefront, because for a lot of years it was swept under the rug. And a lot of the football players, when they retired, had severe emotional problems and health issues, and everybody blamed them. They didn't realize what was causing them.
Yes, well, and so they can treat them and prevent it, because it's definitely necessary. Because as I said in contacting so many of my associates, I couldn't imagine my life without football. And my grandson, if he plays, he'll be fourth generation. I played at the college level. My father and his father played at the high school level.
Wow.
And it built character and discipline and, the colleagues and camaraderie. And now watching it, but I mean, in developing myself as a person, as a young man, as a child and a young man, I couldn't imagine life without it.
I agree with you, and I raised 3 sons, and my youngest son played football, and it was such a pleasure, and he was so busy with football. He didn't have time for anything else but his studies and football, and didn't get into any mischief or any trouble or anything else until he quit football.
Because you don't have time to get into trouble if you do it right.
That's exactly right. And so, I wished your grandson all the luck in the world, and he's the cutest little thing in the world, and I'm sure if I was to ask you what your greatest accomplishment in life was, I'm sure you'd say it's your family, even though you've done so many huge things.
Oh, there's no question about that.
Right.
No question.
Because I see how much they need.
I've been very blessed in that department.
And they're gorgeous. You have a beautiful, beautiful family.
Thank you.
Okay, now I have a question for you. What advice would you give Charles-Wallert as a child? If today, what would you say to the young Charles-Wallert?
Well, I'm still young, Barbara.
Yes, you are. We all are.
What I would say is to keep going. Never give up, the song you started with, because the experiences that I've gone through, and some of them might have seemed horrible and traumatic at the time, is what I needed to go through to learn to know, because I must say with all thanks and humility that where I am right now is very exciting. I am very happy. Not what I've demonstrated on the outside, what I feel inside, what I feel my potential being unleashed now, and the sharing and giving back. I feel better than I've ever felt. I feel I'm the best person to anybody in my life who I've known, will know, and with my craft and music, it's just, I feel it's now. So I would tell not only the young Charles-Wallert, any young person, go through it. Take the hit, just like in sports, take the hit and move on.
Right.
And as long as you don't dwell on the negative, because a lot of our feelings are absorbed subjectively, and they play a big part and become grooves and patterns as we get older. And you just have to keep going. Opportunity is only when you stop.
Well, I know you have given me a lot of great advice, and you've lived your life with such dignity. And when I was feeling down and out and feeling like we weren't going anywhere, you had told me, keep going, and I kept going, and we're doing fantastic. And I attribute a lot of that to you.
Well, thank you. And just in general, do you know in the 1920s at some point they were going to shut down the U.S. Patent Office because they said nothing new would ever be invented?
That's hysterical.
So we see how ridiculous that is. And every genius, everybody who's done something new, people resist change. My theory is because our instinct is to survive. And our primal instinct to survive overrides change. It fears change. And the change is inevitable, so I'd rather make the changes than have circumstances change me, although sometimes it's happened. And as you mature and get older, you learn how to drive the cart yourself more than, somebody else getting behind the wheel. And that only happens if you let that person affect you, because no person, circumstances, nobody can do anything to you except the choices you make.
Right.
That's it.
I know. One of the things that you said to me that I think is just so profound is you're always where you're supposed to be, but that doesn't mean you have to stay there.
And that is in my book of quotes. Yes, that is true.
That really is amazing.
Yeah.
Because so many times I think I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but then it says, yes, you can change it, but yeah, you were here for a reason.
But we all need the experience. It's a question of when experiences that we've had become addictions, habits, like people who get used to doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. You got to know when to change, adjust. That doesn't mean desert your beliefs, but sometimes you just have to know what choices you make and be open. Don't just get into a rut. Don't just be, a lab animal on a treadmill.
Right.
Then nothing is going to change, but it will. But you're going to be affected by the change rather than affecting the change from your choices.
Now, I was shocked, too, to learn that you were at the presidential inauguration in 2009. And who were you there with?
Cuba Gooding Sr.
Oh, yeah.
Former lead singer of The Main Ingredient.
How exciting was that?
Well, it was very exciting. Without any political statements, it was an exciting time in Washington. There was a lot of hope. There was a lot of unity. It was a fun time and a lot of optimism. And being with Cuba and his performance, and, he just was one of a kind. It was an experience I will never forget. Yes,
and I want to thank you because you introduced us to Cuba, and we became friends, and I really learned a lot from him. I really enjoyed him. He was so funny, and I have a little clip here from a message he left me on the phone I'd like to play for you.
Please.
Here it goes.
Good afternoon, Barbara. This is Cuba Gooding Sr.
who sang Everybody Plays the Fool, and the father of Cuba Gooding Jr., who said, show me the money. So, none of that applies in this instance. I understand I'm doing an interview with you guys. I'd like to talk to somebody, check the timing on it, and give me a concept, if you'd be so kind, of the direction the interview should take, so I can sharpen my memory skills. Cuba Gooding Sr., it is 2:40. Thursday afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. Please return my call, and I'll try to leave you a text as well. Thank you.
That was one of many messages and conversations we had with Cuba after that, and he was such a dear and so sweet.
He still is a dear. And yeah, I stay very closely in touch with his family.
I mean, well, for those that don't know, you planned the entire service after he passed, and you were very, very close friends.
Yes, we were, and a great talent. He was the most character of all the artists I worked with. He was a real character.
Oh man,
I loved him, and his music will live on as these projects that we're doing, which you and I will talk about later, or hopefully in the interview. And they're doing a book about his life, Don James and Mrs. Shirley Gooding, his wife, wonderful person, a dear friend of mine, and the boys, Omar and Junior, great young men, and his daughter April and son Tommy. They're my family. That's how all the artists were. See, George, Cuba,
right.
We're beyond. We go back so many years and been through so much together. But what prevailed was always our striving for excellence in the music.
Well, he was a heck of a nice guy, and he certainly brought a lot of smiles to my face. And we played his music constantly, as it was there every day. Your new projects, do you want to start with telling us about the book, or?
Yeah, well, here, let me just lay it out for you. What we're doing, we have Scheherazade Recordings. That's going to be the all-in-one, where all my catalog is in with OC and Cuba, George Benson. And we're going to do some specialty albums coming out with some great songs, some new and some from the catalog, called Wedding and Love Songs, the New Classics.
That's going to be good.
And in that, they're going to have two special father and daughter songs for the first dance that I wrote for both my daughters. My Daughter by Daryl Tukes, and A Special Kind of Love that Benny Marcello recorded will be on his individual album as well.
Wow.
And then the other artist on the album, as well as an album called Inspirations, with songs like Never Give Up and Understand and Live and Let Live. And all the artists involved in this will be George Benson, Dionne Warwick, Cuba Gooding, O.C. Smith, Ronnie Lamar, Daryl Tukes, and leading right now the new project and the new single, Benny Marcella, Magic Nights. And I can't say enough about Benny. I met some people that I never met before that saw him perform, and everybody just not only loves his voice, but they love him as a person. And I am so excited and overjoyed in working with him. And when I go to see him, I mean, if there were 10 nights in a week, Benny could work 10. So he maybe does 4 or 5 in a few different places in the South Jersey, Philly area. And we're going to go back into the studio and do the next 3, which will give us half the album. But we're going to be promoting nationally Magic Nights, and that'll be under the supervision of the great Tom Mazzetta, who also is involved now in a new magazine called Pop Music that's going to have some very, very great radio contributors that will come up with a very bona fide chart for pop music.
Ooh, that's
and
fantastic.
With the help and hard work and the acceptance of the public to Benny's Magic Nights, my goal is to top those charts and go on from there, launch a career that a lot of people know about, because anybody who has seen or heard Benny just loves him. So we just have to expand the awareness of that.
He is an amazing singer, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, because this is Remember Then Radio doo-wop music, Benny originally was with Anthony and the Sophomores.
Yes, he was, and he was also a drummer, an incredible drummer. So that's why he has that great sense of timing and all that. That's why music can cross over a lot of different ways. You know, we have what we do. I guess my main influences were, we grew up in a very eclectic area, so there's some pop influence. There was Motown, definitely the sound of Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And the way I see it now and the way it comes through me as a producer to put it together. And Benny is very, very versatile. He's a crooner. He's a pop artist. He's got a lot of soul, which you have to be to work with me. That's my main entree, you know. So he's great, and we're excited about all these projects. And I'd like to shout out to two of my buddies who love Benny and love music, Mr. Greg Sikora.
Oh, hi, Greg.
And Mr. Bruce Zally. Two really great guys who are really big music lovers. And again, that's what brings us all together, the music.
And Greg he plays some good music too. He's amazing. But let's listen to Magic Nights, okay?
Yes, do it, please.
All right. This is Benny Marsala, Magic Nights.
If you go for a while, that's okay. I'll be fine. A guy like me has so many things to occupy his mind. Bright lights and parties, dinner and shows, drinking all that wine. Maybe if I'm not too busy, I'll think about you some of the time. 'Cause I could use some more of those magic nights when your smile made me high and the music was right. I need some more of your time to let you know that you'll never find someone who cares and understands the way that I do. Is a heart full of love. Take it if you want to. You'll never regret loving me, so don't stop caring. Fate has touched our stars and made two lives for sharing. Without you, anything new seems a distraction. 'Cause in my life, you've come to be the main attraction. And I could use some more of those magic nights when your smile made me high and the music was right. I need some more of your time to let you know that you'll never find someone who cares and understands the way that I do. Is a heart full of love. Take it if you want to. Faded, but I promise you I'll be the man for whom you always waited. Give me your trust, I'll give you my love. We're a special pair. Put it all on me. You know you really care. 'Cause you could use some more of those magic nights. My smile made you high and the music was right. You need some more of my my time, so you will know that you'll never find someone who cares and understands the way that I do. Here's a heart full of love. Take it if you want to. Magic nights, magic I love those magic nights. Magic nights, magic nights with you.
That was beautiful, Charles.
Benny.
Oh, yeah, Benny can sing. Tell me one thing. When you write your book, when it's completed, will I get a signed copy?
You will get a signed copy. You're also going to be interviewed for it.
Woo!
We'll take some picture. I mean, remember then radio is so good. And we want to help you grow, so definitely we're going to interview you. I'm writing the book with a wonderful, wonderful author, really a great author named Will Romano. And Will has done 5 or 6 books. He's received a lot of acclaim, and we get along really well. Will has been with me and George Benson, and probably from October on, he'll be shadowing me everywhere. We'll come down and interview anybody who was involved with Beach Music Awards, like John Aragona when OC swept all the awards, and I was fortunate enough to get a few myself. And, do all the different places. So we're really looking forward to the book. The working title is We Made Them Dance, and it'll be a very positive book, about life and music, and the theme of that will also be never give up. It's not going to be one of those climax thing and crisis things. No, it's going to be a straight line with some great stories, and people who love music and love sports will hear a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that I was privy to and around, and, people that we've met. I mean, I was on the sidelines with Vince Lombardi and Johnny Unitas and George Halas on a sports thing. I was in the Yankee Stadium locker room when the Pope left the note the first time he came to the U.S., and it was on the training table, and a lot of different things. It just happens. And then, how I became a record producer, that's a story in and of itself, or was advised to, I should say.
Right. Yes, it certainly is a story. I know I was impressed by it. But I'll tell you. You can
tell it, Bob.
I can?
Yes.
Well, this gentleman, Phil Spector just blows my mind. I mean, such a dichotomy he is. And the fact that he's the person that told you that you should be a producer.
Yes, because he thought I was pulling his leg after seeing Elvis, and we had a heavy conversation about the show. And he didn't believe that I was not in the business, and he told me very sternly that he didn't say that to many people. I don't know how many people he ever talked to, but that's what I should do. So I took that very seriously.
I'm sure. Yes. How cool is that, though? I don't know why, but I love the music. And here again, another thing I have to thank you for is you introduced me to Nedra.
Nedra from the Ronettes.
Nedra Talley Ross. Yes. And you didn't know at the time that as a child, as a teenager, she was my idol. I wanted to be her. I didn't want to be Ronnie Spector. I wanted to be Nedra. Nedra was gorgeous. Nedra had the perfect voice. She looked so great in those outfits. And the fact that she and I got to be friends, thanks to you, I just thank you so very much.
Well, I love things like that. The first album I did in OC, the title tune was called Dreams Come True. And it was not really a happy song. It was Dreams Comes True, but maybe bad ones too, but it was optimistic. Mm-hmm. That's what I love to do. I love to see people's dreams come true. It really makes me happy. And a couple of things are going on like that right now with some people that have gotten together with the dreams that they had in their life, and the higher power, the greater power made me instrumental in putting that together. So that makes me happy. Joy is a beautiful thing.
Well, you always take the high road, and I know this is going to be a fantastic book. I know it's going to be on the bestseller list.
Well, as long as people enjoy it and get something from it, great. Now, the songs, yes, I definitely want them on the top of the charts. Look, we'll see where it goes, but people will be inspired from it, and they'll enjoy it. It'll be a happy experience for them.
The magazine sounds fantastic also. Now, can you tell us the location of Scheherazade Records?
Yes, Scheherazade Records will be located on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, New York City.
Wow.
Oh, and let's not forget, New York City by George Benson is now the theme song of the Ernie Onassis TV show, Ernie Onassis in New York.
Wow.
My production of George Benson's New York City, the great George Benson. My God, there is a talent beyond.
One and only.
If you only had one of those, if you could play like him or sing like him, you'd be a superstar, and he can do both. So we're going to be in New York City, and Barbara, give me a drum roll. We're going to be on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly Hills.
Wow.
Because we're going to be doing a lot of movie work and TV work and things like that, so we'll have a location. And creatively, because you and Steve like the clams at Summers Point, and Greg is kind of twisted. Greg Secor is trying to twist my arm a little bit. We like to get something down there. I'll be doing a lot of the creative stuff there. Avatar Studios just closed in New York. We're thinking about putting a studio down there, close enough to New York City and Philadelphia, certainly.
Perfect.
We could have our musicians come in and really have a good time, put them up for a couple of days, and knock out the albums. So, I love that from my creative side, looking at the Bay and great restaurants there, just casual and nice and fun. Not far from Atlantic City when George and Shaka come in,
Wow.
a few minutes away. George was just at resort, sold out, killed them.
Isn't that fantastic?
So, that's where we're going to be.
I'll tell you, Summers Point is a happening place. I was shocked because I used to go to Ocean City every year in the summertime, and Summers Point was dead. So when I went there and we got together, I was shocked at that is the neatest little town. I just love it.
Well, the great thing is, too, Ocean City is a completely dry town. You can't even bring your own bottles. You could come out. Now with Uber, it's great because they go across the bridge with people in Ocean City, and come and have dinner, have a nice glass of wine, and hang out a little bit, come watch some sports. And it's the sound of the shore. And what I am going to do for the sound of the shore is make it completely eclectic. You like country, like R&B, you like rock, it's all going to be there. There's venues for everybody.
That's perfect. Remember Then Radio definitely loves the sound of the
show. Definitely. We're going to have a presence there and do some remotes and all of that stuff because you like it. And then we'll go eat the clams.
Oh, yeah. We can eat the clams while we do the show.
Right. We'll do the show from the clam bar.
Perfect. I can't think of a better place to do it from. Okay, now you're doing a book. Suppose they wanted to do a movie, the story of your life. Who would you like to play you?
I won't even get into that. You know why? That's frustrating because I know how the business works. And what I will tell anybody who wants to do a movie, go with a screenplay. Don't go with an idea because they might even give you money for your rights, but it'll be a long time or may never get made. I've seen that happen to some major stars. So you go with the screenplay, and then it's going to be their call. But if you do a book first,
right,
you kind of lock in to the storyline. So I would suggest that rather than, just do that. So the book is pretty much who they pick, who knows. It may be somebody we know, somebody we don't know. Sometimes, I don't know. I really can't say,
truthfully, now that I asked you that question, it just came off the top of my head. I don't know the young actors. I really wouldn't even know who to suggest. I'm from back in the days with Frank Sinatra and, all the old people. I don't know the young actors. I don't pay attention.
Well, what makes them is a great movie, so let's hope that this becomes a great movie, and I definitely want to give the purpose of it is to let the people know how really and truly great O.C. Smith was and is, Cuba Gooding, George Benson. People know George. George is beyond.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't even know how I know how great he is even beyond that. And just great people. That they're great people, just stars with great people.
Well,
and that's important for me to tell that story.
I agree with you completely. Now, when success just doesn't happen. You have to work, and you worked very hard. How did you balance work and family and, get some free time? Did you work 20 hours a day, or did you make sure you had vacation and time off? How did you do that?
Well, no, I make sure I get my sleep. But when my daughters were 3 and 2, I was divorced. But I had them every single weekend.
Wow.
Right till the time they went through college. And then we would take vacations as well. So I look forward to that family time. And the rest of the time I spent, honing my craft. Mm-hmm. There was a time that I wasn't doing much, and that's when I had the accident and jumped back into it and never looked back. Because that's what I'm here to do. People say, do you like your job? I don't have a job. I have a vocation. Yeah. And this is who I am. And that's what I love to do. So I know how to balance it pretty well. And actually, the more successful you get, the more time you can take off, mm-hmm. A little bit, a week or two, and go travel and different things, which I like to do. But my whole focus now is making these projects that I've outlined to you work and putting everything I've got into it beyond 100%.
Well, I don't think you have to worry. I know you, and I know everything is going to work out fantastic. What are some of your fondest memories of when you were younger?
Oh, I think my dad taking me to my first football game, playing in a band for the first time, seeing all the various performers, that I've seen so many different people. But when I was young, I enjoyed sports. I enjoyed music. I used to go with my mom and my cousins to what they used to call on the rock and roll shows with the last one with Alan Freed, but then Murray the K. And you'd see all these acts, and it was all eclectic, but everybody got along. There was nothing. Now music is very fractured.
Exactly.
And culturally, racially, and everything else. And it wasn't that way then. It was all good, all classy. So I had great moments in that. Going to Yankee Stadium for the first time, that was great. And just, I enjoy life.
Yeah. Well, I repeat this probably every time I do an interview because everybody mentions it. In our day, the music united all of us. We did not have the racial divides and the problems that you see today because our music made us so close and we had everything in common and we didn't even think about anything else.
Well, we still do, but what forces divided in music with the kind of dismantling of the record labels, I think it's room for more creativity. As far as anything else, I won't comment politically.
Right, I understand.
It'll take care of itself. But there's only one right way it should be. Okay?
Correct.
And if you hate, and my grandmother used to tell me, if you're against any race, you're against the human race.
That's correct.
So whatever people do culturally or economically, fine. But I will say, if there is only one right way, and that's to embrace everybody and try to get along.
Well,
and we come from New York. We were no shrinking violets, and no, we didn't back away from confrontations. But in knowing that, you can say that there's good in all of us. If there are problems, they can be dealt with. That doesn't mean you condemn, and hate, and criticize, and attack.
Correct.
Let's heal. Let's heal.
Well, maybe.
By the way, that's spelled HEAL. Some people out there will get what I just said.
Okay. Now, did you get nervous when you were younger and you had someone, you were producing them, or did you feel confident? I mean, how did you feel when you first went out there in front of an audience and had a show? Were you nervous?
When I was a teenager in the band?
Yes.
Oh, no problem. We played at the World's Fair. But as a producer, I was confident, except Van McCoy, after he became a big star, he produced, everybody and wrote Baby I'm Yours and wrote The Hustle. Mm-hmm. That was a bigger seller. Van, I asked Van to ask me to get some arrangements for me, ask somebody to do it. And he said, well, what's wrong with me? And here I am in the studio producing one of the greats of all time, and he's arranging for me now.
Wow.
He's working for me. And we were doing You Mean the World to Me, Sweetheart for O.C. Smith, and the tempo was a little fast. Now we're getting near the edge of the song, and how do I tell my hero, one of my heroes,
right.
Tom Bell, how do I tell him, Van, I think it's a little fast? So with that, the take stops, and he leans in the microphone and says, I think that was a little quick. What do you think, Charlie? I said, yeah, let's do another one.
You were saved. He saved you. But
got me off the hook.
I think, though, truthfully, you have confidence, and you have a way of saying things that I would have no problem with you telling me that something was wrong or fast or anything else, because you're a classy guy. That's all there is to it.
Well, it's just I'm doing my job, and, the people that know me, my creative team has been around me decades. The great Joseph Joubert, my arranger, keyboard player, the best in the world. Daryl Tukes, Angela Clemens, Bashiri Johnson. These are the world's best. Worked with every superstar on the planet, still do.
Wow.
And we respect the creativity, and they know I have a focus. I will listen, but that you can't do things by committee. You can't. It's got to be. I heard like Gleason, Jackie Gleason, and those people, and I know Charles Schultz for sure. They just did it their way, and how it came out, and that's not being a dictator or anything. That's your unique expression of creativity. I tell people, well, if they have their idea, they're welcome to do that on their projects that they produce.
But if it's got your seal, it's got to meet your standards and your regulations.
Absolutely. And I got to feel it.
Okay, in musical sessions you've sat in, I know this isn't fair to ask you this, but is there any one that stands out more than any others?
Well, they all stand out at different times for their own genius. They all stand out. I can pick a cut on George Benson with several cuts, OC, Cuba. Ronnie Lamar, Lifetime Guarantee, one of the greatest sessions I had with the background vocals and the way the whole thing comes in. So each of them has had their own brilliance. If I don't have that, then I missed the boat going in, and I have not missed the boat in all these years.
Right.
And I don't intend to start now.
When you were a child, was there someone that you desired to meet and you did get to meet eventually?
Elvis.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to meet Elvis?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. What was he like?
Gentleman. After a while, you forget, he's just, he was very much a gentleman, very polite. Just very good energy, and he had the thing that Sinatra had, and Benny has too. Is that guys and men and women liked him. He was just very, very, very nice. It had a lot of charisma.
I see that with most people that are successful. They're nice people, and I think that's why they're successful. It's the people that are snobs and have an attitude. They never really make it.
Well, there are people that are successful outwardly that are like that, but that's the way they always were. And I understand sometimes they put up with a lot of abuse, going through the business and all that, and put downs, but that's who they always were. The people who always were good, it comes out more so. I mean, all the people I've worked with are they're my dear friends. They're family. My God, it's George Benson. What a great person. His family, he's with my family, OC, Cuba, Ronnie, Benny. And Ronnie and Benny are very close friends, So I love it. I love that. I guess that comes from the camaraderie of sports, teamwork. I love being part of a team that's cohesive.
That's fantastic. How do you see your future? What do you think you're going to be doing 5 years from now?
More of the same. I see the music going into more of a lot of film, and I'll be just doing what I'm doing. I love doing what I'm doing. I'll probably be writing a lot more, which I've always been encouraged to do.
Yes.
And I want to travel a lot more. I like going around with my artists and sitting way in the back and just watch the audience and see what they're picking up on, live performances. A lot of producers get into the lab and never get out, and you get stale that way. You got to see what the people are reacting to.
I think it's
with the new material.
Yeah. I think it's interesting with your idea of Sound of the Shore to have eclectic music, because
yes.
I like that because, I'm not a huge country fan, but there's some really beautiful country songs. And I just, there's a lot of different kind of music that I'm learning about that I didn't pay attention to when I was younger. So that's a really neat idea.
Well, here's the whole thing. Why limit your audience? A place like the Sound of the Shore in Summers Point has a lifestyle that everybody will like. So why not maximize the audience of your different musical tastes?
Mm-hmm. And that way you can draw a lot bigger audience.
Well, big audience. Not only that, people get together and have differences. And in difference, it's nice sometimes. It makes for some nice harmony. You learn a little bit about that person. They learn a little bit about you. But again, even the difference in music can bring people together. The difference in genres can bring them together.
That's true. It really is. Is there any person that you met in your lifetime that taught you a huge lesson?
How do you mean taught me a huge lesson? I've learned something.
That they changed who you are. They changed who you are. That they taught you something that was so profound that it changed who you are.
I think all of the people that are close to me changed me. Not changed me, brought out who I am.
And your
made
parents.
Me deal with, O.C. Smith, Joe Namath for sure, George Benson. At different stages in your life, you learn things by observing. Mm-hmm. And I was influenced by positive. I saw, for example, when O.C. went through his whole spiritual change, I knew him prior to, as he just started, what a change it made in his life. And I was curious about it. He never told me, or none of them ever told me, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. I watched and I observed. And they were older than me, and that's where the experience came in. So I was like a sponge. I absorbed that, and I truly admired all of them.
It sounds like you had parents that were very supportive and gave you some good advice.
Very. They let me be me. I had to get good grades. That was my mother's part. And my father always taught me about business, documentation, be on time, keep good records, be precise. And he was fun. They were fun. A lot of fun. And they all love music.
That's fantastic. I love the idea that you went with your mother to those shows.
Oh, I did, yeah.
How much fun would that be? And speaking of school, did you have a very favorite teacher that stood out in your life?
Yeah, my English teacher, Vincent Kane. I had him for 3 years in high school. He was my English teacher. He was also into theater and stuff like that. But he even came to my parents' home for dinner. And in high school, I was not what you call I was a good student, but I cut up a lot. I mean, I was a little bit of a wise guy, being on the football team and stuff like that. So I just, and then always looking for fun. I went to an all-boys high school. Oh. You're so much crazier then because you're not trying to impress ladies as a teenager, and there's no girls around, so it's just like Animal House,
Oh, I can only imagine.
And it was fun, and I had good grades and loved playing sports, and it was a good experience all the way around. In college, I started out playing football at Central Connecticut, got hurt, finished up at St. John's, where all my high school buddies were, and it was a good experience. But I think the neighborhood I grew up in, family, it was that feeling of camaraderie, that feeling of teamwork. And my grandmother, who was a labor leader, started as a factory worker, was the greatest influences on our lives.
Oh yeah,
she was dynamic and quite a woman, and it was a lot of love, and that's important, and that's what I feel I have in my family now. Did
your family, your original family, your parents and your grandparents, did they live long enough to see you be a success?
Yes, they matter of fact, my grandmother and my grandmother on my mother's side and my mother and father all passed away within weeks of each other. But that was shortly after the Beach Music Awards aired on TV. And I had done things beforehand and taken them to events, and taken them to see a lot of the sports people I knew and introduced them. So, yes. But as music is concerned, they saw me and O.C. win all those awards. And they knew it coming. There was a big article in the Daily News one time about me and O.C. for the What You're Gonna Do album, and it was very flattering as a producer. My father went in and happened to pick up the paper and sat at the counter with his buddies having coffee, and he looked and he saw my picture, and it was nice.
Where were you the first time you heard one of your records, like, for instance, Brenda, playing on the radio?
I'm not sure where I was then. It definitely wasn't the Carolinas. It might have been in New York, but I never forget I heard Love Came by Ronnie Lamar. Uh-huh. I was driving on, I think it was, Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn.
Wow.
And it came on in the morning.
What a great feeling that must have been.
Yeah, it is. Well, Smokey Robinson said something. I saw him. They said to him, Smokey, what do you do when you hear your song on the radio? He said, I turn it up. And I don't necessarily do that, but I know what he meant by that, and that is a good feeling.
When you're driving in the car alone, what music do you have on your radio?
A lot of times I don't. A lot of times I will have music in my head and do some writing.
Wow, that's...
No music anymore I could really listen to on the radio, and I've listened to enough oldies. But if I'm working on a project, I can do a lot of my thinking in the car, and I can come up with some ideas, musically. And then sometimes I'll relax. I'll put on classical, and then I'm just worn out by a lot of the stuff. But sometimes I'll feel like it. But a lot of the newer stations, there's no continuity in the music. You get a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Right.
And it's kind of, it really is disruptive to my concentration, so.
Well, I think you should keep on writing because you're an amazing writer, and I think that's fantastic. It's such a gift. It really is. It's such a gift.
Well, we're gonna continue doing that and more of it. And my good friend Barry Fidel has encouraged that. George Benson has encouraged that. Well, he always did. Cuba always did. Ronnie Lamar. So all the people close to me have encouraged. Benny for sure.
Right.
And that's what I'm gonna do. And I got some things coming for Benny's album. I'm probably gonna write about 4 or 5 out of the 12. But as a producer, you have to be open to this. A lot of producers want to write everything. It'll start blending. Mm-hmm. I take songs from all different people. I produced so many of Jimmy George's songs. He did "I'll Always Love You" and "Just to See Her." I did "Love of My Life" for George Benson. After all is said and done, for O.C. Great writer. So I'll take a song. I have been blessed to hear a song in the rawest of forms, and just know that, okay, we can do something with this, and who should sing this? So, I always look for material, stay fresh. I never write more than, if I write a lot, it'll be 40% of an album.
Wow.
If that. And I don't force that. Maybe it won't be any, but it's got to fit.
I love that. You're a very confident man, the fact that you are open to anything.
Well, yeah, because it becomes my song once I produce it. I feel it. I got to not just hear it. I got to feel it. Right.
Well, I'd have to have another interview with you after the book is released and some of these projects are going on, because there's just so much more to talk about.
Well, yeah, and we'll definitely get Benny on and maybe have Tom Mazzetta at some point, too. He's a very interesting guy, but definitely do an interview with Benny once the song gets some traction nationally, and, he'll tell you about the album and what's going on, and I think that'll be a lot of fun.
That would be fun. He's such a sweet guy.
Beautiful guy.
And first, I'm going to end the show with the correct version of Brenda with O.C.
Well, the original. Let's say the original.
The original. That's correct. And in the meantime, is there anything you want to say to the audience? And Steve, can you read to us again the Joe Namath address so that we have it right here? Right there it is. www.
Yeah, it's NamathNeuroCenter.org. NamathNeuroCenter.org.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I do want to say something first to you and Steve, and thank you for having me. And for all you listeners of Remember Then Radio, tell your friends about it. Let them get as much fun out of it as you do, and I know you get some fun out of it because it's great music with great people, and we support it. I'm the unofficial ambassador for the station wherever I go, and they'll be prominent in all my projects because it's so important that we have good music out there, new, old, whatever. So it's going to be Remember Then, Remember When, and like I said, I like to make tomorrow's memories today.
Correct. And we are so honored and so pleased to have had you, and we will keep our audience up to date on your projects and what's going on So anything you want to post on Class Reunion, Remember Then Radio Class Reunion, or you want us to let the audience know about, just let us know and we'll take care of it.
Well, we will do that, and we're dear friends, and I look forward to seeing you. God bless for all of you. And folks, just remember, whenever you feel, whatever you feel, there's a song that'll make you feel better for it.
Isn't that the truth? And a friend that'll cheer you up, I know.
Absolutely.
Here we go. O.C. Smith and Brenda.
It seems life was losing all its fun, always loving on the run. There was nothing to be done. With you, I turned my whole thing around, picked myself up off the ground, come to these arms. I want to embrace you. You are my lady. I'll never replace you. Oh, Brenda, my Brenda. I'm thinking about your love, and you're all that I'm dreaming of. Whoa, Brenda, my Brenda. You're the only girl for me, and I'm yours exclusively. Whoa, Brenda, my Brenda. The clouds, they seem to somehow disappear. The sun was shining very clear, and love has now replaced the fear.